So, it is once again time to be graced with another campaign from the illustrious, almighty, all-knowing king of shitty DMs, Trevor Baines. And, because of this glorious occasion, this also means that you all get to be blessed with an equally shitty video to give you the introduction to the world that we're going to be diving into. As is par for the course, in this video I'll give you a brief overview of what to expect of me as a DM, introduce you to the world and setting, then go over some miscellaneous rules that we'll be using for this world. So, to start things off, let's talk about what I'll be like as a DM. First and foremost, as you already know, my whole goal as a DM is to make sure that you all, my players, have fun. To achieve that end, I lean into homebrew content as much as I can, and this campaign is no different. I think the homebrew content really allows for you all as players to craft a character that you're super invested in, and allows me as the DM to better shape the world of the campaign around you. There will be boundaries, of course, but if you have any ideas for your character, whether it be backstory or mechanics related, I'll try my absolute best to put into the campaign in a meaningful and compelling way. On that same note, once you finish watching this video and come up with or finalize your character ideas in your head, let me know what you're thinking. Where does your character come from? What are their goals? How did they get to where they are now? You'll all be starting with one common objective at the very start of the campaign, but aside from that, everything of how your character got to that point is up to you. And if you have some ideas that you want to do, but that don't really fall into any categories you hear in this video, let me know, and like I said, I'll try my best to work it in for you. Now, the last big thing about my DMing style is that I notoriously hate railroading in tabletop games. Now, of course, in some instances, your players will be forced into certain situations, but I consider it my job to make those situations so small or so infrequent that you all as characters barely even notice. This campaign especially will revolve around the choices that you as individuals make or the choices that you all make as a group. Like I said in the last campaign, I create the world, but you all are the ones who write the story. There are a myriad of different forces that are at play in this world, different organizations to align yourselves with, and different activities that you can take part in. You choose who your enemies and allies are, and I simply react to the choices and situations that you get yourselves into. All of your actions, big and small, will have an impact on the world and the overarching story that gets told. So, don't think your choices have no effect in the world, because I can assure you, they most certainly will. The city of Yondora is a cyberpunk city set in a world much different than our own. Yon, as it is affectionately called by its inhabitants, is a megatropolis located in the country of Varos. However, even though Yon is merely a city, over half of the entire population of the country of Varos can be found there, and it is a hub of technological advancement in the country. Created from what was once a beacon of the old world, the city of Yon has embraced the technological advancements of the new world and has become a different kind of beacon in the world now. In the wake of this new age of technological advancement, corporation after corporation began to pop up, capitalizing off the new inventions and products that were able to be made and produced now. These companies quickly began to merge and be bought out by one another, and eventually monopolies were formed. Before the government could even react to what was happening, they became dependent on these companies for not just their economies, but the hospitals, critical infrastructure, and defenses as well. This all leads us to today. The city of Yon is a diverse city split up into 2 zones and 5 districts. Each of these districts have their own unique atmosphere, cultures, and specialties, and each of them could be a city in their own right, both in size and population. On that note, let's take a deeper look into each of the different sections of the city of Yon to see where your character might originate from. This area of the city is completely owned and controlled by the Sengais Corporation. In fact, even though this is the main center of the city, the actual political offices aren't even located here. Sengais Center is a beautiful marvel of both engineering and technology, with 5 giant skyscrapers extending into the sky and surrounding the complex, with shops, houses, and apartment buildings, and all the luxuries you can think of extending outwards from there. The entire city center has a Neo-Tokyo mixed with Hanging Gardens of Babylon aesthetic, with lush greenery and clean roads and sidewalks all around. The Sengais Corporation is a massive corporation, whose chief rise to power is based off of their microchip empire. Nearly all mines for their precious metal used to make these processors in the country are owned by the Sengais, and they have patents on nearly every step of the procedure locked down. Because of this, the giant spike in technological advancement is in one way or another because of them, and continuously reliant upon them. Their first big product launch after these processors was a Neuralink interface, a small microprocessor that is implanted in the child before or shortly after they're born that alters the very function of their brain. Because of this, people are able to interact with the world in new, fantastic ways, as well as support a host of physical enhancements that would otherwise be impossible. Through this technological marvel, the country of Varos became increasingly dependent on the Sengais Corporation and started making laws to ensure that the technology they have would stay inside the country. Because of this, the Sengais Corporation and family gained immense control over the city of Yondora, and even though elected officials technically govern the city, everyone knows who really runs the show. Executive Square is a name given to the wealthiest zone of the city. As the name suggests, nearly every headquarters of the major companies exists in this district. The owners, executives, managerial staff, and families of these companies will have their houses located somewhere in this square. And, because of a law created by the Sengais Corporation, if you do not fit into one of those categories, you're not permitted to live or conduct business there. In fact, you must obtain special permission to even step foot across the river to enter this territory. While not quite as nice as Sengai Center, the Executive Square is the next closest thing to a utopia. All the latest and most cutting-edge technology and equipment resides there, and because of this, its inhabitants live a life of luxury and glamour. District 1 was the first district established outside the Executive Square and home to the CMHI, the Center for Mage Hunters International. This government agency was responsible for the tracking down, capture, and arrest of mages throughout the city of Yon. Because of this, the district was given first dibs of the technology that leaves the Executive Square, and has a fairly thriving economy full of well-respected members of society. District 1 is governed by one of the 5 executives of Yon. A man named Rohan Del Monte was appointed as a governor of sorts over the district and oversees the day-to-day operations governing the area with his staff to support him. Though Rohan is supposedly a member of the government, it's all but confirmed to the general public that he is firmly on the payroll of the Sengai's Corporation. Alright, now it's time to wake the fuck up, Samurai. This is where shit gets wacky and wild. While the other 2 districts so far were a picture of utopian Neo-Tokyo life, District 2 is all about the party. Whilst the smallest district out of the lower 5, it has the most active and lucrative economy. Nearly every form of entertainment imaginable, from amusement parks to movies, all the way straight down to porn and brothels can be found here. While there are plenty of residents here, the number of people that actually permanently live in District 2 is pretty low. Rather, most of the housing is temporary apartments or hotels for those who come to indulge in the city's wonders. This district is under the control of Victoria Vixen, though it's likely that's not her real name. Despite the fact the city is a non-stop party, Victoria is a notoriously cunning and cutthroat woman who rules over the district by influence more than pure legislative strength. And, you guessed it, even though she was appointed by the government, she is outspokenly on the payroll of the Sengai's Corporation. District 3 is the true backbone of development for Yon. In this district you will find most of the important import and export docks for the city, as well as an immense amount of factories cranking out every possible piece of technology imaginable from their production lines. Not only that, but the foremost medical centers for cybernetic implants are nearly all housed in this district. Because of all of this, it is the largest district in the city and houses millions upon millions of citizens. Since this district houses so much important infrastructure for the city, it has 2 executives in charge. The executives of this district are Roman Sengeist and Alicia Miller. These 2 each govern separate parts of the district and, in theory, serve to balance each other out. However, how much power Alicia actually has over the district is in question by many. The city helped put her in charge because she is one of the last remaining descendants of an old family of mages. While she herself has no magical abilities to speak of, she is an outspoken supporter for not killing off the old ways and wishes to meld the 2 lifestyles together. This, as you can imagine, makes her quite the divisive leader. District 4 is one of the first 2 districts with no actual executives to lead them. This district is home to many factories and utility plants in the city, and because of this, the rate of people falling ill from smog-filled air is high. Even though it's only a handful of miles separated from the innovation center of the city, this district mimics more of a 1984 dystopia than a cyberpunk utopia. The district is monitored and managed by an AI protocol named Minerva that was created by the Nerve Corporation to keep citizens in line and manage the critical infrastructure around the district. Because Minerva is used to regulate the district, some would say the district is truly managed by Nerve CEO Talos Bloodfallen, who lives all the way in the Executive Square. Last, and certainly least, is District 5. This district is home to those who are sympathizers of the old ways, individuals born without cybernetic implants, or other general rejects of the city. Once part of District 4, after it was found out many mage supporters lived there, Minerva was cut off, and the citizens were left to live being governed by an old, outdated, and glitchy protocol of the AI. However, it is said that an underground organization has formed in recent years, and is establishing itself as a true leader of this district. The only interactions that this district has with the others are in the form of prisons and exterminations. Most all prisons of the city of Yon are housed in District 5, though it's more apt to call them slaughterhouses than prisons, really. In addition, the government launches extermination projects in the district every once in a while. Now, these exterminations are not publicly announced or endorsed, of course, but the rumor is whenever the police or military have new technology that needs to be tested, the citizens of 5 are first in the chopping block as not-so-willing participants. Alrighty, so now that you have an idea of the setting our campaign is going to be taking place in, I think now is a good time to explain the different classes to you. These classes, in the technical sense, so referring to their actual mechanics, are custom subclasses used to modify existing D&D classes. However, even though these classes are built on top of a D&D class, not a whole lot about the original D&D class is going to be intact. So, for instance, a lot of them are using rogue subclasses. However, the subclass changes the rogue so much that it really plays entirely different than the original rogue does in D&D. Though, I guess that's what a subclass is meant to do anyway, whatever. In any case, all that's to say is that just because a particular class in this campaign is built off of another D&D one, doesn't mean it's going to play the same way as the one you're used to. One last caveat before I dive into the classes. These are going to be short blurbs about what the class is like and, in general, how it's played. I'm not going to go over every ability in that new class just because that would take far too long, but rather I'm going to attempt to give you a glimpse into what it looks like to play that class and how it will be affecting the campaign. So feel free to skip around or jump over classes that you're not particularly interested in and just listen to the ones you want to play. The Juggernaut is going to be the epitome of a war machine. Everything in this class is built around the idea of punch first and ask questions while punching. A heavy reinforced musclehead whose cybernetic enhancements and class abilities allow them to lead the charge into a fight and be the spearhead or the shield for their team. The Juggernaut will be proficient in heavy weapons and will have the ability to support more physical enhancements than any other class. The Headhunter is going to be the long-range sniper class of this campaign, but more than just a sniper, they're an expert marksman with any weapon class. These guys and gals are outfitted with every cybernetic enhancement that allows them to pick a vantage point far away from the center of the fighting while raining down death from afar. They're also the stealthiest class in the whole campaign and are best at lurking around in the shadows. The Headhunter will be the only class with proficiency in all weapon type except for heavy, making them versatile based on the augments you choose to give them. The Scout class is going to be the quick-footed mobile class of the campaign. The Scouts revolve around their effective use of drones and can be used to scout out areas, cause distractions, and strike enemies from unexpected locations. The Scouts will be proficient in light weapons and hand-to-hand combat, as well as having physical augments to support their mobility and their use of their drone army. The Hacker is by far the most creatively intensive class in the whole game. By this I don't mean that they're a product of the DM's creativity, but rather how far they go depends on the creativity of the player. In a world of technology, everyone and everything can be hacked. A master hacker can be a dangerous assassin, master thief, or crowd control master by manipulating their surroundings. This class will truly only be limited by the player's own imagination and the character level. The hacker will be proficient in light weapons and will have physical augments to support their movement, boosting their ability to hack. Now it's time for everyone's favorite part of the video. Random rules and mechanics. Yay! It's fairly important that you listen to all of these, but if you get bored and skip or just forget something, just ask me and I'll let you know. However, there will be 20 d10 psychic damage rolled for every roll you forget, but that's just sort of industry standard stuff, so don't expect anything too crazy. So, first thing, and perhaps most importantly for this hyper-capitalistic world, is money. The currency in this world is going to be called eddies, because it's cyberpunk and I had to do it. Eddies are a cryptocurrency and do not exist in any physical form. A couple of things to note is that because they're a cryptocurrency, anyone with sufficient knowledge of the blockchain, in-game that is able to see who sent money to who. Because this currency is virtual, it's distributed through the use of the Neuralink chip inside your character's heads. It can be done just by thinking about it. And for scale of how much things cost in this campaign, just imagine $1 is equal to 1 eddy, just for simplicity's sake. The next most important thing to cover are cybernetic implants. Now, like I said before, these cybernetic enhancements are extremely commonplace in this world. And in fact, people in this world who don't have at least one kind of augmentation are at a severe disadvantage. Throughout the campaign, at any point, you can choose to try and obtain any kind of cybernetic implant for yourself. Depending on what class you choose, you'll start with a few, but from there it's up to you. If you can pay for it or otherwise persuade someone to give it to you, it's yours. And in reality, this is where your character will really take shape. See, because you can choose any kind of wacky combination, you really can make your character whatever you want. And there are no preset limitations on what kind of enhancements you can get. It could be anything from springs implanted in your calves to a particle accelerator strapped in your arm. The only thing limiting what you can do is your own imagination and some loose physics. However, there's one little wrench in the works. Cyberpsychosis is a thing in this world, and your character's body can only handle so much augmentation, and the level of augmentation you can handle is based off of what model chip you have implanted in your head at the time. There's no hard and fast line for how much is too much, though, and the effect of cyberpsychosis will creep in slowly over time, or perhaps not at all, depending upon what path you choose for your character. Okay, next thing to talk about is healing. So, because this is not a magic-filled campaign, we're going to do healing a little bit differently. And just so you know, if this ends up being broken or needs to be tweaked or something during the campaign, I'll do that, but we're going to start things out like this. On a long rest, you'll heal to full, and on a short rest, you'll heal 30% of the damage you took throughout the day, as long as that damage was minor scrapes or bruises or injuries or whatnot. However, big injuries are going to be a bit different. If we don't have magic, getting shot or stabbed is a pretty big deal, and will require either going to some medical facility or trying to collect some triage kits and attempting to take care of the wound yourself. But you won't be able to get in a street fight and get shot and stabbed up with no armor and then sleep it off. So damage you take is going to have to be healed on a case-to-case basis in most cases. So, the last thing to talk about, in terms of mechanics anyway, is weapons. So the weapons in this campaign are going to be pretty much any weapon you can think of in real life, with some futuristic ones added in. I'm going to post a chart to the Discord with the different damage values and listing out the various things about the weapons, so they're going to be classified in light weapons, medium weapons, heavy weapons. But one thing to keep in mind is that if you're going to use a gun, like I imagine most of you are, ammo is going to be a thing. The only class that can craft ammunition is the headhunter, so if you're not a headhunter, you're going to have to make periodic runs to the store to get ammunition or otherwise obtain it somehow. Also, on the subject of weapons, bullets really hurt and are in fact detrimental to your ability to stay alive. There are many physical augments or pieces of body armor that you can get. However, as a precaution for you to keep in mind, unlike normal D&D, if you don't have the normal protection or body armor in place, any random Joe on the street can just drop you in like 3 seconds. So, while violence is totally fine and in fact encouraged throughout the campaign, your ability to ignore random patrolmen or civilians as non-threats like in normal D&D isn't really a thing in this world. So exercise caution when carrying out your murders. Alright, you've done it. You've made it through my DMing style, the world, the rules. The last thing to tell you about is the prompt for starting the campaign. You all will be starting the campaign in District 1 as new graduates from the Center of Mage Hunters International. Fresh off your training and equipped with a CMHI tech, you'll be sent off on your first assignment to hunt down the remaining mages in the city and help quell the civilian unrest along with it. So, when making your character, think about why they would be someone who was chosen or who volunteered to enroll in this program. Everything else about your character is entirely up to you. Where you grew up, who you know, what your actual goals are, all of it's up to you. Just from the start of the campaign, it needs to end with you enrolling and completing the training at the CMHI program. Alright, you sexy people, I think that about wraps up everything you need to know in preparation for this campaign. As always, let me know if you have any questions, and I'm looking forward to the campaign with you guys.
Straight bars only. I ain't never said nothing gay. Hey. Hey, look, I got the power when we chillin' in the shower. If a nigga drop the soap, I dunk my balls in him like I'm Dwight Howard. I got the power, no socket. I love holding pockets. If I see a nigga getting taken, I'ma cheer for him, not stop it, cause nigga, I love it. Give me the booty, I rub it. I fuck on DeMarcus, then fuck on his cousins. I got the dick by the dozen, he called me his husband, and I started blushing.